We're talking all about buying a business. From your perspective, what are the benefits of buying an existing business versus somebody going out and saying, I'm going to start my own business? Or maybe there are benefits to starting your own business. It sounds like you specialize in people buying businesses. Why should we be thinking about that as a first choice versus kind of building from scratch?
Well, sure. So that's a great question to ask a guy like me. So I've started a couple of businesses and I've bought a couple of businesses, and I advise on both sides. I work with a venture capital firm here in Atlanta and think about early stage investments. Here's why you'd make one decision versus the other. As optimistic and entrepreneurial as I am, if you just were betting the odds, if you start a business, more businesses fail than continue on for 10 or 20 years, right? What is the statistic, like half or 3/4 fail in the first year? That's real. And so to start your own business from a sort of logical standpoint, because we all knew we do some things on emotion. But if you're thinking logically, you're saying, hey, do I want to bet that I'm sort of in that top half or top quartile of people with this business idea and opportunity? And if so, it makes sense to go start it. You'll own more of it and you'll probably have more autonomy. If you're sort of saying, hey, I'm a more reasonable sort of bet the median, bet the average type person, right? So I would imagine a lot of real estate investors are sort of in that boat. It may make more sense to buy. Here's why. If you think about all the complexity of the first 5 to 10 years of a business, the first salesperson, the first new vendor, the first significant fire, the first issue between business partners, the back office systems, the product market fit. So what product to what type of customers and what way. When you buy a company, they've worked all those things out to the tune of now they're doing $10 million in revenue, $2 million in profit per se, just random numbers, right? And so now when you buy that business, it's not quite like a franchise where they have like a whole operating manual for how to run the business, but you get sort of a light version of that because some set of owners in some real environment have run this business, ironed out the kinks, and you're taking over all their thought capital and trying to grow it going forward. So you have a playbook. You actually have an advisor in the current owner and the current management to help you go forward. And it's less complex than trying to figure out, how do I sell manufactured products into the automotive industry in the Midwest? Some of these things are hard to think about from scratch, but when you see another model that works, buying it can make more sense. The other thing that happens is when you start a business, you're sort of everything. You know, you clean the floors, you do the strategy, you call the customers, all of that. When you buy a business, you sometimes become the CEO, but you sometimes become an advisor, and so your role is different. Also, your risk is different. When you start a company, most often you start with sort of a good idea and you're in your garage. When you buy a company, you start with a lot of money you owe other people, right? If it works, then you're going to be very, very, very glad you did it, right? But you have to be comfortable with living with the debt, right? And so those are some of the things I think people should consider. But the main thing is really the probability of success. I think the probability of buying a company and it being around in 5 years is way better than starting a company and it being around in 5 years.